Hey guys, I had my mic off. It was a great start to the analysis. I was having some audio issues yesterday, so I was messing around with the settings and I forgot that I turned my mic off. But here we are. Welcome to the daily analysis. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of August, 2019. Time is 10 a.m. here in the UK. You're looking at an CAD daily chart. So let's get started with the analysis, guys. Today's analysis, we're going to be looking for price action setups across all these pairs here. And when I say price action setups, I mean reversals, continuations. Also going to be reviewing some of last week's setups. Unfortunately, let me see if, I think I took a screenshot of them somewhere. Just give me a second, guys. We had a members only webinar over the weekend and I unflagged some of the pairs we had flagged. With all the setups we were looking at last week. So I took a screenshot before I did so I am going to reflag them. That way we can take a look at how they're doing. EURGBP, USD NOK. But I think a lot of these didn't turn into actual tradable setups. They were just potentials that kind of fizzled out. Final one was CAD, which is actually at the top of the list already. Nice. And we're also going to take a quick look at the news, see what we have upcoming this week. But it's a pretty slow news week this week. So first of all, what do we have today? Well, yesterday we had the bank holiday, just in case you guys missed it, in Japan. But that generally doesn't affect things too much. Just probably less volatility in the Asian session. But yeah, that's over now, so let's not worry about that one. What do we actually have today? We have the USDCPY numbers, CPI and core CPI. Generally speaking, this doesn't have a big impact on the market, but you never really know. I mean, last week we were looking at, what was it? Was it a CAD report, if I recall? Yeah, so CAD employment change. Generally speaking, that doesn't have a huge impact on the market either. But it was way off the forecast last week, and that caused a pretty big move. So whenever I say generally this doesn't cause much movement, which I say a lot about these red reports on Forex Factory, you have to keep in mind that sometimes they are going to come off way off the forecast and they can cause a huge move. But generally speaking, the US CPI numbers, they don't tend to cause huge movement, and for the most part you can see that they are pretty much on point with forecasts. You know, they might be off by 0.1% sometimes, but generally speaking they're very close to forecast. You don't get much of a deviation from forecast and actual. I'm struggling to find one that's over. There we go. This one was 0.2% better. But I think that's the first one in over a year that deviated more than 0.1%. So my point is, these CPI numbers, they tend to be pretty accurate to forecast. So you don't tend to see that much impact. So I'm not too worried about this one that's coming out at 1:30 p.m. today, which is in 3.5 hours. Then we have the AD wage price index. This one's just, yeah, not important. Doesn't really affect price too much. Usually pretty much on consensus or on forecast. So we don't really have that much going on in terms of news. We have the CPI numbers out of the UK before the next webinar, because the next webinar is going to be at 10 a.m. tomorrow. This comes out at 9:30 a.m. But again, CPI numbers, not too worried about them generally speaking, unless they're way off forecast. So pretty slow news day. There's not much happening, and the stuff that's happening should not have too big of an impact on the market unless it's way off forecast. So for news, shouldn't be too worried about anything. I know to a lot of you that sounds good, but to me that sounds kind of bad, because it just means we're not going to see much movement in the market. Well, that's not true. We're less likely to see movement in the market. News is what drives the market. So when there's not much news, things tend to be slow. But hey, that's just trading, guys. So let's get into the actual analysis. We're going to kick things off with USD/SEK. There's an open short on this pair that I shared. It must have been 2nd of August, so it's been open quite some time. Been open quite some time. Wow, 2nd of August. Maybe it was open on the 5th of August though. Just depends when you entered. But regardless, 5th of August or 2nd of August, it's been open for quite some time. Normally I don't like trades lasting this long, but you know, what can you do? Sometimes they just kind of keep on going and going. Is anyone that's in the room right now still in this? I know a few people are still in this that I chatted to on Skype and via email, but I'm not sure if anyone who's in here right now is still in it. But to anyone who's still in it, you may as well just keep holding on to this one. It's slowly working its way towards your target. It's very slow progress, but it is making its way towards your target. Just move your stop loss, tighten that stop loss, not necessarily to break even, but you want to make it at least half of what it started at, and hold on to the trade. UKX, this is a trade that I was talking about last week that I ended up skipping because the original risk to reward ratio was something like this, but then it got a bit, this candle got a bit too big, so I ended up skipping this trade, which I guess was not a bad move because it has turned around. So we were looking at this one closely last week, but just didn't turn into anything because the risk to reward ratio got too wide. You're still in USD/SEK? Awesome. USDCAD, this is a short trade that I took last week and that a few of you also took. Not going too well at the moment. My stop loss is at break even, so well, it's at break even plus a few pips. It looks like my stop loss is going to be hit very soon. Not a big deal. I mean, I won't lose anything on this trade. I won't lose anything, but I won't gain anything, so that kind of sucks. Just not really doing what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to push down faster. But after that news last week, the CAD news that we were just talking about, in fact, the employment change out of Canada, it shot up, came back down, and then that was on Friday. And then on Monday, it just started working its way up slowly. This is a 12-hour chart, so you can see on the daily. So my stop loss is at break even. I'm just going to keep it there. See how it works. Last week we were looking at EURGBP for a potential, but there's nothing going on there right now. It broke above resistance. It's kind of stalling out right now. There is potential for a long trade here, a long continuation trade. Because we are, in fact, at some pretty significant highs here. So, EURGBP officially has gone above, almost 10-year highs. 10-year highs, guys. That's big. Highest point before this was 29th of August 2017. It broke that. So we are at almost 10-year highs. Therefore, trading a continuation is a bit risky. Bit risky. But that being said, I mean, it's risky, but I'm still willing to trade it. So what I'm looking for here, Sorry, it just took me a while to figure out if I was willing to go for this one. What I'm going to do here is probably wait for... I want to see some more consolidation here, and then I'd preferably like to see a break above some recent highs. So honestly, this one's probably not going to turn into anything until at least tomorrow. So I'm just going to sit out of it till now, but we'll review it in tomorrow's analysis and we'll see how it plays out. USD NOK, I can't remember what we're doing here. I don't think a short was entered here. I think we were looking for one and discussing a potential short. I can't remember. Did anyone go short on USD NOK? USDCHF is just continuing its downtrend. Looks like it's making a new low. I think there was a potential short here that didn't turn into anything last week. And AUD-CAD, I think there was a short here on the lower time frames that a few of you took, which I hope you exited at the support area. But there's nothing there right now. So, right, that's the review done. Let's look for some new setups, guys. I'm not seeing anything so far. It's pretty slow start to the week. Not crazy about this support resistance area. It's kind of okay. On old data too. Don't like support resistance on very old data. Let's just see how it plays out, guys. I'm very sorry, guys. I need to pause this webinar. I've got someone at the door and I'm the only one home today. And it's an important thing. I'll be back. Very sorry about that, guys. I had a package being collected for a defective product from Amazon, and of course this is the time they choose to show up. The 30 minutes today where I'm presenting a webinar, the only 30 minutes where I'm doing something. But anyway, let's get back into the analysis. I can't remember where we were. Looking at CADJPY, because that's the one selected. Yeah, nothing really there. Nothing on CHF, JPY. Let's not worry about those pairs. Euro AUD, Euro CAD, nothing much. Euro JPY, nothing much. Euro New Zealand, yeah, there's nothing much going on. This sideways movement on the euro is a bit What counter trend potentials are you seeing? I'm really not seeing much. It did slow down there, but we still need some lower support resistance areas. Price is in lows. It hasn't, for the pound anyway. Price is hitting lows we haven't seen in a long time. But yeah, nothing there on GBPJPY. Ooh, GBPJPY looks somewhat interesting. Got a potential reversal forming here, counter trend reversal on GBPJPY. So what we're looking for is a push up from this support area. We have price stalling out on support. It does look like it's making its way down right now, but if that turns around and starts pushing up and breaks around about this level, the 1.2756, sorry, the 127.56 rather, I will be looking for a long from here. Looks pretty solid. I like the idea of this setup. It is counter trend. The target wouldn't be this high, by the way. The target would be a conservative 1.5 initially. Then we're looking to extend it. When you're countering such a strong trend, you don't want to have too ambitious of a target. And this is an absurdly strong trend. So basically what we want to see is we want to see the pound turn around from here. I would suggest keeping a bit of an eye on GBPUSD also. If you're looking to trade GBPJPY, there is no clear setup right now on GBPUSD, but we want to see GBPUSD kind of stop here and potentially turn around. That would be ideal. Because if GBPUSD continues to shoot down, I have to go back a long way to get... No. We can't even go back that far. Just double checking something here. Yeah. GBPUSD is currently at lows that we only saw post-Brexit, and before that I think we've never seen. I think possibly we've never seen these lows. It's quite possible. I had a look back in the 80s. I was looking, and I don't think it got below here in the 80s, below the 1.200. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I don't think it did. And I don't know if there was ever a time before that GBPUSD has been so low. So what I'm saying is that GBPUSD is going into uncharted territory. And I think it's going to be quite tough for us to trade this pair effectively when it goes into uncharted territory until support resistance starts forming. So right now, and even if we could get support resistance from like the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, if it ever was down this low, it would be, I mean, we're not using support resistance areas from the 60s, right? Even if we could get them. So it does look like it's stalling out here. Let's see if it actually stalls out. Let's see what happens. And if this stalls out here, then I think GBPJPY has a pretty good chance of moving up. If GBPUSD starts pushing down again, then that GBPJPY is not going to really work out. So I'm going to keep a close eye on GBPJPY, potential trade there. Right. There's a potential reversal here, but I really don't like it. I don't think that's a safe trade. New Zealand JPY, this one looks a bit better. Price stalling out on this support area. What's the support area based on? Can't remember. Oh, it's based on some... It's a bit high, isn't it? That makes more sense. based on some pretty, it's not great data that this support area is based on, I have to be honest. It's not based on great data, but it is stalling on top of the support area, so that is a good sign. So basically, this support area that we have, right, it's based on pretty underwhelming data. We've got 2012, we got a kind of, not even a bounce, but price stalled here on its way up, based on pretty shoddy data. We do have bounces back in 2011, this one here, and kind of that one there. And then we have a pretty big bounce back in like 2011 probably still. Yeah, still 2011. And then before that, it was kind of breaking through there. So basically, the data that we're basing this support area on is not that great, but it's the only data we have. But good thing is, price is in fact stalling on the support area. So this would be a counter trend trade that we can keep an eye on. I'll get more into that trade in a second. No, I don't like that. Potential short trade on USDCHF continuation. Yeah, it was a long on gold in the new chat room, wasn't there? I didn't enter that one, but looks like the guys in the scalping chat room might be doing well. Gold USD breakout is confirmed. Here's my 3-hour target. Oh, actually, I'm not sure if they are in it because they were waiting for a pullback. Oh, you guys are? Did the pullback happen, Aaron? Because Viet said he was looking for a pullback to... Of course, this was a lower time frame trade, so we're looking at... I can't tell what time frame this is on Viet's chart. Yeah, I don't think you should be in this one, Aaron. The pullback never happened. You entered way too early. Unless I'm missing something here, the pullback never happened. It was in fact a 1-hour chart that Viet posted. Yeah, you might be in profit, but you're not following the strategy. You're just jumping into trades randomly. That's not the way to do things. A broken clock's right twice a day. But anyway, let's summarize things, guys. EURGBP, I'm quite... EURGBP could go two ways, guys. So we're kind of like at a breaking point for EURGBP right now. It's just made some highs that we haven't seen in almost 10 years, which is very, very significant. We're getting strong signs of indecision, so price is stalling at resistance. And we're getting signs of indecision. Now, it could certainly keep pushing up from here. Could certainly keep pushing up from here. There's no doubt in my mind it could. But it could also fizzle out, which it looks like it might be doing right now. It could fizzle out and then turn around. So I'm going to be prepared for both of these eventualities, and I want to trade either direction when it happens. Now, the short trade is the easiest of the setups, because the short trade, we could just enter something like this. Probably enter on a bit of a pullback to get a better risk to reward ratio. But you could enter something like this. Enter when this daily candle from Friday breaks to the short side. Stop loss up here, something like that. You could do that on EURGBP. The long trade's a lot more difficult to figure out where we want to get in at. But it's probably going to have to be, I don't know what this resistance area is. First, let's figure out what this upper resistance area is and why I've placed it. Because we just really don't have much data. So it's, okay, I placed it based on that wick bounce there. Kind of makes sense. But we don't know if it's going to come into play much. It's very little data that we're basing this on. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to this resistance area right now. So another potential trade here, the long version here, if price starts pushing up, right? If price starts going down, I'm looking for a short. But if price starts going up, I don't really like it that much. Don't really like it that much. I'm going to have a pretty big stop loss. I want to see at least a break above these highs here. So at least above 0.9334. Yeah, so honestly, guys, I don't really know how I would enter the long setup. I think we need things, we need a little bit more price action to happen to kind of get an idea of what to do here. Right now, it's still pretty unclear. Let's just give it a little more time. We'll review this tomorrow and we'll see where we're at tomorrow. But it's just too early to say for a long trade, because if we were to enter right now, not enter right now, sorry, but set a pending order right now, our risk to reward ratio would be very low. So I'm gonna wait on this one, but I'm definitely interested in going either long or short, depending on what price shows us in the coming hours. Depending on what price shows us. GBPJPY, this one's a little bit more straightforward. We're looking for a counter trend trade here. What we need to see is price continue to stall out on this area and start pushing up to get us in on a counter trend trade. The initial target would be quite conservative, but obviously with our counter trend trades, we always look to extend the target depending on momentum. New Zealand JPY, we have a very similar setup to GBPJPY. Price is stalling out on top of support, so we're just going to look for a potential long from here. Conservative target to start off with, and then we can extend it depending on momentum. So we need this daily candle to close, and then we could look for a setup tomorrow. USDCHF, this one I'm a little bit more interested in trading short, but it's just not that great a setup, I have to be honest, guys. What we want to see here, though, is this is a continuation trade. So we want to see a break of these lows in this case. Would be ideal. Going up to larger time frames, we want to see a break of the low of this candle. Yeah, something like that. So a break of those lows, it has a pretty good risk to reward ratio overall. USDCHF looks interesting, guys. See if we can get a support area below. We definitely can. We got some this one any good? I guess it's had bounces in the past, so it does kind of work. Yeah. But because we're looking at a continuation, we don't have to worry too much about that support area. We could enter on a bit of a pullback to make it a bit of a safer trade. Oh wow, I was placing that support area based on the 6 hour. What am I doing? Sorry guys. I was looking at the 6 hour thinking it was the daily. My bad. Yeah, that's minus support. It's not really a major support area on the daily. This is more of a major support area. Ooh, and that's a much stronger one. Right, so we have a major support area there. Yeah, there's definitely potential here for a short on USDCHF, a short continuation. So let's let this one play out, see how it goes. We are seeing a drop now, so I would be looking to enter this quite soon. Around about 0.9679-ish. And then looking to extend that target down if it in fact is a strong continuation. Right. Counter trend potential on GBPCHF. I don't see it. I'm not sure why you have your support area where you have it, which I assume is a bit lower than mine. For there to be a counter trend trade here, you need your support area to be here, but I just don't see why you would have it there. I guess based on this move in August 2011, maybe. There's almost no data to support your support resistance area, man. It's very old data. I'm going to keep mine at the latest bounce that we have, even though the bounce was a bit of an anomaly. I'm going to keep it here. I don't want to go back to August 2011 to try and find support resistance areas from one big bounce. So I'm not doing anything with GBPCHF. EURGBP, you must have a support area down here. This area makes a little more sense. This area makes a little bit more sense, but that big spike down really screwed things up in January in terms of support resistance. I'm just redoing my support resistance here. Right, I see where you're getting at, but I think this is below support, man. I don't think your support area is that good. You have yours lower. And it kind of makes a bit of sense, right? I see what you're getting at with these old bounces here, but the more recent bounces here, so it looks like the support area has moved up a little bit. And if we look at the last few days, it did bounce from here and then start to continue down. I don't think your support area is that great. This looks like it's headed down to me, if anything. But either way, things are just too unclear right now. I wouldn't be going long. You got AUD USD. I wouldn't be entering a counter trend reversal on AUD USD. We already had this weird candle. We already had an attempted counter trend reversal that's completely failed. We wouldn't have entered this one, but what I mean is buyers have attempted to go up but failed completely. They're attempting it again, but I don't really see. You're going to have price struggling where it struggled previously here. You have a lot of room to the downside for price to move because it just spiked down not long ago to here. I just don't see this as a safe trade at all. It has a lot of room to the downside. It has too many barriers to the long side. So yeah. For me, these are the setups I'm looking at, guys. EURGBP, GBPJPY, New Zealand JPY, USDCHF. USDCHF looks like it's getting some momentum behind it. So this continuation might end up working out well. I'm going to wrap this webinar up, guys. Thank you for attending. And I'll see you guys for tomorrow's webinar, which should be at 10 a.m. also. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you later.